Welcome to 3D Accuracy, where I'll talk about 3D printing, 3D product design, and 3D injection and die-cast mold design. Okay, I don't know whether this video is going to be attached to the video I did yesterday or whether it's going to be a separate one. But anyway, thank you for coming back and continuing on and seeing the video. And the reason I don't know is because yesterday I took the video with my smartphone. And I like using it because the video images are much better. The color's much better, the resolution is much better. The camera that I have now has its advantages. I can put it on a tripod, which is why I'm using it. So it's a little bit older camera and it isn't quite as good as the smartphone, but it serves a certain purpose. Now, the only thing I don't know is the video editing software that I want to use. I haven't had any experience with it yet, so I haven't tried to merge two videos together to make one longer video. I don't know how that's going to work or if it's going to work, especially coming from two different cameras. You know, it could be a little funny. So this may end up being part two, a separate video. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, in the video yesterday, I was talking about I want to remodel my 3D printing shop and want to paint the walls, do a little concrete work, put some flooring down, that sort of thing. And the goal yesterday was to get all the items that I had along the wall here out of the way because I need to move the machines, all the 3D printers and the desks and the workbenches. I need to have the space to move them to a certain area, do the flooring, put down the flooring in one spot, and then move them back and then do another section because I don't want to put the 3D printers outside. Absolutely not a good idea, especially when it starts to get hot, and because we're cruising in on summer here pretty soon, I don't want them outside getting cooked in the sun. Not a good thing. So I need to do it another way, which is not a problem. So anyway, we accomplished what we wanted to do yesterday. You see all the things that I had here, some of my tools, and there were a bunch of other items. Everything's gone, out of the way. Now I've got this whole wall from one end of the shop to the other where I can go ahead and patch, wash, patch, paint, fix the concrete along the bottom, paint the trim, and get everything ready in preparation for putting the flooring down. And then I can move some of the 3D printers that are behind the camera. I can move them into this area so I can do the wall on that side. And you can see I have my toolboxes over here that were against the wall over here. I got that moved out of the way, and I've got space back here in this area where I can push things. It gives me room to work. So anyway, what I'm doing today is first I gotta clean the floor. Now that I get everything out of the way, I want to sweep it up, and then I want to work some of the concrete. You can't really see it, but when they painted the walls, you know, there's a lot of overspray along the edge on the floor. And I want to clean that off because I don't know that the peel and stick flooring I want to use is going to adhere well to that. So I want to see if I can scrape it off. I've got a wire brush, and see, I'm not really keen on grinding it. You know, I have an angle grinder, and I could get an attachment to, you know, grind the floor, but I don't want all that dust, that fine powdery dust in with the 3D printers. Not a good thing. So I'm trying to avoid that unless it becomes an absolute necessity to do that. I'm trying to stay away from that kind of thing. Anyway, so I'm going to sweep up the floor. That's the first thing we're going to do, and then I'll show you a video along the edge what it looks like and what I'm going to do. You notice here my broom. This is, I got a broom, and I like this broom because it cleans the floor well, but obviously, see, now I just whacked that pole on the ceiling. Obviously, this is not the pole that came with that broom. You can see it's taller than I am. And what happened is, the handle broke. You know, it has a standard broom thread down on the bottom, very common on a lot of, you know, brooms, wash things, you know, automotive wash equipment, that kind of stuff. Common thread. So anyway, when the pole broke on the broom, I had this long pole, which is actually used to put a paint roller on for painting up, on second stories, that kind of thing, when you have, high ceilings and that sort of stuff. And that's what that pole is for. Now, I can tell you exactly why that broom handle broke. I mean, I've been in business in the plastics industry, designing products, designing injection molds. I have past injection mold building experience. I did that for many years. I'm actually third generation doing that sort of thing. My father and grandfather were both mold makers and in the tooling, die-cast industry, that sort of stuff. And I can tell you exactly why that broom broke, which brings me to an interesting story. Since I've been in business so long, I've got a lot of stories over the years. But some years back, I had a good customer that did a lot of bathroom fixtures, different items, and I did a lot of work for them. And one day they called me and they said, Bob, we need to send you, you need to go overseas, you need to go over to Asia and look at this mold. We just had a mold made over there, and they run the parts, and the parts look okay, but when we get them back here and we test them, and what they actually do is they wipe them with a cloth dampened with 409 cleaner, because it's a common cleaner that people use in their bathrooms. And so they test the item by wiping it, and when they did that, the following morning, the particular item that they were having difficulties with was full of cracks. It was just like, you can't sell this. There's no way. You can't put this out on the marketplace. So anyway, they wanted me to go overseas and quick, go to the consulate, get a visa, we'll pay for everything, we'll get you plane tickets, send you over there, find out what the problem is, tell them how to fix the mold, run some parts and bring them back. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. I said, they made the tooling over there. They said, right. I says, they sampled the mold over there. They said, yes. I said, where did the material come from? He said, they got it locally. I said, okay. And the material happened to be ABS, and very common material used in a lot of things. So I said, okay, here's what you do. Let's do this first. Go over here across town, and I told him where to go. And I said, you go to this company and you buy 50 pounds of their ABS, you send it to them, and you tell them, mold us parts out of that material and that material only, and send us back samples. They did that. The samples came back. They tested it with the 409. Didn't crack. They actually soaked it in a bucket of 409 cleaner for several days. Didn't crack. Solved the problem. Anyway, I have a hunch that's why, partially why, besides the fact that the geometry on the part was not as good as it could have been, but I have an idea that they've been using substandard materials, and that's why it broke. That's the story. So let's get to work. Back to the subject. I'm going to sweep up this floor, clean it up, and then I'll show you along the edge what it looks like and what I want to do. So I'm going to re-aim this camera a little bit, and then let's start cleaning up the floor. Yeah. Put my gloves on. Right. Get a broom. And I got one of these push brooms also, but I don't like these as much. They don't seem to clean the floor as well as the other broom. I mean, they do an okay job, but certain circumstances I like the other broom better. So let's get at it here. Sweeping the floor reminds me of when I was younger, my first job. One of my first jobs when I was a kid, I worked in a warehouse for Schwinn bicycles. And one of the things I used to do is sweep the floor. Of course, when you're a kid, that's the sort of thing you do. Okay, that's getting there. And you'll notice this long extension cord I've got in here. And that's because I also have a little electrical problem I need to get fixed. And I don't have time to do it. So what I really need to do is get an electrician in here to fix it. But I've got several of the outlets along the wall, and the one switch on the wall that does the light outside doesn't work, and it keeps tripping the circuit breaker. So I don't know if it's a bad circuit breaker or if it's something in the wiring. I know the ground fault outlet is not wired correctly because it wasn't working. And I went to replace it, went and bought another one, and wired it properly, and then it worked, but every outlet beyond it didn't work. So I knew, oh, the wires are good, aren't they? The guy who did this, I don't know. So anyway, that's another thing need to get fixed, which will be coming up soon. And what I'll do later is get my shop back and really do a much better job of this, cleaning this floor. Right now I just want to get the brunt of the dust and dirt. This is very dusty here in Southern California where we're at, and the wind blows almost every day where we're at, and so it doesn't take long for it to need to be cleaned again. Quite a bit of dirt and dust underneath all that stuff. Okay, that's much cleaner. There we go. Much cleaner. Look at that. I'm getting a sweat going already. So, here's what we have. Let's focus. There we go. Okay, we'll start at this end. You can see where I was patching the concrete previously when I ran out of the cement I had mixed. And there's a good sized crack around the edge of the slab on the floor and this foundation on the wall, and I want to fill that in, keep the insects out, keep the moisture out. You see I've got, you know, rough areas here, and I want to paint that. You know, once I paint the walls, I want to paint the trim so it looks nice. And you know, when I put the floor on there, I could just lay it up to the wall and, you know, just paint it as is and just say call it a day, but it's not going to look very good, and I want it to look nice. That's important. But you can see there's you can see the white overspray on the floor, so I want to scrape that a little bit with a wire brush, see if I can't get some of that up and loose and get it out of there, because I'm not sure how well that's going to you know, the peel and stick's going to want to stick to that, and I don't want it coming off. Now you see here, there's no crack in the floor, but there appears to be, I don't know if that's cement in there or if somebody caulked it at some point, but I want to get in there with a screwdriver and dig at it, and if it's caulk, if it's soft, I want to peel that all out and get concrete in there so it's got a good good fill in there that's not going to make problems. So anyway, the rest of it, you know, around here, it doesn't have that crack in the floor, but the concrete that I want to paint, you know, this little step here that I want to paint with the trim, it's a little rough, and I'm trying to decide, well, should I just wire brush that and call it a day? Or I even got a little piece of rebar sticking out of the ground there. I got to grind that off. So, you know, I'm like, well, do I want to spend time trying to smooth that with concrete, or should I just go ahead and, you know, because the rest of it is more like that. See, there's no crack in the wall. It's just rough concrete. So anyway, I got to decide what to do with that. If I want to, now what happened? Oh, I know. I zoomed in. That's a little better. So I got to decide whether I want to try to smooth that out or whether just painting over it would be good enough. I got to get down there and take a look at it. So anyway, got to find my tools. You can see this toolbox right here. I've had that toolbox since I was 19 years old. That's a toolbox I always had with me when I worked in the injection mold shops building injection molds. I always had that toolbox. All my tools were in there and had it for, I still have it. It's in rough shape now. You know, I've been dragging it around for so long, and I'm debating over whether I should refurbish it and get another rolling tool cabinet and put it on top of that, because I still use it. I still have things in it, not stuff that I use all the time, but I'm like, should I keep it or should I get rid of it? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So anyway, let's see. There we go. Okay. So get my tools. I should have a scraper, and I need something on the floor here. I don't like kneeling on concrete, especially at my age. Not a good thing to do. I always put a pad down on the floor and kneel on that. I used to know, years ago, I used to know where all my tools were, exactly where they were. But over the years, as I've acquired more tools and more toolboxes and started, you know, moving things around, I sometimes have to hunt a little bit until I find what I'm looking for. I don't know, do you have that situation? If so, let me know in the comments. Does that happen to you too? I know I've got stuff. You know, I know I have certain things, and I just don't always know where they are. You know, I have to find them. Strangely enough, like those plastic containers you just saw with the numbers on it, I've got a bunch of those. I've got 8 of them over in the corner, and I got several over here with materials in it for the 3D printers, and I keep them in there because it keeps the materials clean, and it keeps you know, just keeps them in the dark, clean, in a safe spot. But I know I've got a list in the computer of every container. I know exactly what's in every container, how much of each material, what color, where I bought it, when I last dried it. And so, you know, when I get a project and I know, okay, I need blue ABS, what do I have? I go look on the list and I can tell exactly what I've got, whether I've got enough to do the job or not, or need to buy more. So materials, I can do that. Now I haven't done the same thing with my tools. So I don't know exactly what's in each toolbox. I mean, some things I know because I repetitively go and get something, you know, a certain item, but other things I'm like, where is that? So we'll find it. I'm looking for a scraper. I have the wire brush, but I can't find the scraper. I had scraper that I used on the floor for stuff like, you know, rough stuff. It was an old scraper. I don't think I put it in my other toolbox. Let me see if it's over here somewhere. See, I've got an old scraper that I don't mind using on the concrete. So that's what I was looking for. So let's clean up this concrete, see what we're working with. Well, it's getting it off, but not all of it. It's not getting right down to the concrete in all places. In some places it is. So it's a matter of, now actually when I paint, I'm going to paint the molding and then paint into the floor, maybe about an inch, inch and a half, because when I lay the flooring down, I want it to be short of the wall for expansion, and I got to see exactly how much they want you to stay away, whether it's a quarter of an inch or half an inch or what. But so it is going to have to stick to the paint at the edges, and I don't think that's going to be a problem because there's no traffic there, and there are no small little pieces because I want to do a herringbone pattern. And to make sure that I had enough flooring, what I did is I actually created a 3D CAD model in my software in Creo Parametric, Pro Engineer software. And what I did was lay out the tiles on the floor. I measured the room, did a whole model of it, and then put the tiles on the floor so I knew exactly how many tiles I would need and how it was going to position in the room. You know, I'm going to work from the center and I know how to lay the tiles so that by the time I get to the wall, I've got minimal waste. So I've already got that all figured out, and I know that I'm not going to have any small pieces, you know, to fill in where the, you know, the herringbone comes on angles, and you know, where they meet in places. You might have small little tiny pieces, and I don't have any of that. It's nice cuts, and so full width of the tile. So I don't have any little pieces to contend with, which is a plus. So I don't have to worry about it too much sticking to the floor. It's not like I you know, have all these little tiny triangular pieces along the edge with, you know, without, which, you know, they won't stick well. I've got full length planks that have the ends cut off at an angle, so it should work. I think it'll do the trick. You know, it's not so critical that I get all of this off with the peel and stick. If I was going to do an epoxy floor or something like that, then it would definitely all need to come off, need to be ground. But the problem with that, because I looked into it, is I need to completely empty the shop. Everything needs to go outside for several days to do that, and I'm not going to put 3D printers out there and let them sit outside. Not going to do that, number one. And number two, to me, the expense wasn't worth it. I don't want to put a lot of money into the floor. I just want to make it look nice. That's the goal. That's what's important. I'd rather put the money into equipment, that sort of stuff. You know, buy another 3D printer, not put a lot of money into the floor. So this will work. I think this will be good enough to attach the peel and stick. If I find, when I go to attach it, if I find that it's not sticking well enough, and I'll know that pretty early on. As soon as I start laying tiles, I'll see whether they stick well or not. I can always put some adhesive on the floor also. And what I'll do is, you know, we'll wash the floor really good and get, you know, any oil, any imperfections, you know, spills, that kind of stuff, get it up off there before we start laying tile, before we start laying the planks. So this will work. I think it'll do the job. Don't want to turn the fan on, even though it's not bad in here. 70 degrees, 71 degrees. Much warmer outside today. But I don't want to turn the fan on because I don't want to blow the dust around, make it worse. That's what I like about this tool. It's got that nice little point on there. I can get in there and scrape this junk out of here. And then we'll redo this. Ah yeah, cement's is not in as bad a shape as I thought it was. It's just the imperfection from the, just all the residue from painting the walls settled onto the concrete, and it's just all rough and cruddy looking. This spot doesn't look bad at all. I think I can let it go like this and just put a new coat of paint on it. I have concrete paint, so it should adhere well to the concrete. We'll just clean it up. Ah, this is good. I get to the corner and then I'm ready to clean it all up and do the concrete work down on that end. And then while that's drying, I can wash the walls. I want to wash them so the new paint sticks, adheres properly. Now let's move the camera here. You can see what I'm doing over here. Get me out of the way. There we go. It's actually coming off really well. Strangely enough, the caulk ends exactly where the edge of the old cabinets were. There were some old wooden storage cabinets. And I don't remember if I scraped that before, that little section before I pulled the cabinets down, but it looks like I may have, because it's cleaner than here. So I may have done that before and forgotten about it. Yeah, you know what? I've got some spots on there where I can see the paint is not adhered to the floor well, and when I scrape it, it flakes, which tells me I should get that off, because otherwise, you know, the peel and stick planks, put it on that paint, and if that paint isn't adhered well, it's just going to flake it right off, not going to stick. So anyway, that's going to take a long time. It's going to take a while for me to do this, and it would make this video obnoxiously long and horribly boring, right? Let's tell the truth. It is what it is. So I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you're ever in need of 3D product design, 3D injection mold design, 3D die-cast mold design, or 3D printed prototypes or production parts, please feel free to contact me. You can find contact information in the video description. I look forward to hearing from you and to being of service to you. Thank you for watching. As always, I appreciate it. See you on 3D Accuracy's next video.